This is the Team Objection podcast for April 1st, 2021, episode 477. There will be no April Fool's shenanigans, and no, that's not an April Fool's shenanigan. I hate April Fool's Day. It's one of my least favorite holidays. It can go fuck itself. So we're going to do something completely different for April Fool's Day and not address it at all.
It's not even a holiday, so.
But you already did it.
Well, I mean, I addressed it in the sense that it's, it's the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Now, I'd like to think that post-COVID, we're going to have a lot fewer dumbass pranks this year as far as like entertainment and pop culture. Because every year there's, some occasionally funny like fake video game trailers and, movie trailers and the like. And then some ones that almost seem mean, like fake announcements that people have wanted for a long time. And we're not about that life. So
I'm going to, April Fool's Day, I'm going to go to his house and cough on his face.
That's a good joke, Shaun. You actually coming to my house.
And give him COVID.
Got him. How long have you been at this house now, Dave? 3 years?
Almost 3 years, yeah.
I've been to this house. No. Wow.
No, you haven't.
Was this the house that's like in the cul-de-sac?
No.
Now, granted, there's a COVID excuse for, a third of that time. It's not as bad as it sounds. It's not good.
I've invited you to come swimming multiple times. Like, hey, come on down. We went to the Suns game. Why don't you come to my house? We'll have dinner first. Nah, it's cool. I don't like you anyway. That's pretty much what Shaun said.
When was the last time I went to a Suns game?
Last year. So that's Shaun. That's Chris's third of the time excuse right there. There's still 2/3 of the time I've lived here in which you could have enjoyed. So,
well,
it's on you, buddy.
There's always a good reason, Dave.
Not
That's
this
what
time.
I always say.
So let's switch screens so you can see what we're doing for this show. And if you can't see, it's fine. We'll talk through it. But, you really should be watching the podcast when you can, or at least have it on so you can switch to it.
We're gonna take the other national holiday around this time.
March
as
a Madness.
Theme. Yeah.
Oh, my.
Here we are in our cool vertical layout and with a bracket in front of us. What's the bracket for the audio listeners, which still outnumber the video ones, so I shouldn't exclude them? It's picking the best Jackbox game of all time. Wow. Bracket with what I assume is 32 entries, which sounds about right. I don't know what was missing. I didn't actually go through this to see because I think there's been 35 games. I think there's been the 7 Jackboxes, all with 5 apiece. So there's a couple that didn't make it, but let's be honest. If we can't remember them, they probably don't belong here anyways. Anything that we could possibly want to win this bracket is here. So I'm sure it's some of the early stuff. Like, is Bomb Core on here? Nope, so there it is.
Yeah.
Damn. I was gonna say, that's one, but...
You know what? We've done this so many times now between the Christmas one and we've done another one I don't remember. Now this should be a segment. If we ever get back to naming segments, and I don't know that we will, but if we do, this should be a segment, just like bracket off or something.
So we have deathmatch where we just pick 2 and have one move on.
Yeah, but that's not a bracket, Dave.
But let me finish, sir. This is like... the death match times, 32 though. So in a way, this is like our Thunderdome in a way. If you want to pull
death
an old
bracket.
Yeah, death bracket. There you go. I like it. Death bracket.
Now, the smart thing about this was they didn't seed anything. I'm not sure what generated the matchups, but this was done by Jackbox themselves. This wasn't like some random thing that was put together. So I think they tried to balance it out as best they could. I looked it over a bit. It seemed pretty balanced, but we're not worried about like, Drawful 2's in the top left quadrant. It's a number 1 seed. It's just... that's where it happened to fall. So you don't have to worry about the rankings. It's just we're going to go one by one, head to head, and see which one emerges victorious. There's a few different picks I think are likely, given just the 3 of us. We've played these games a lot, so I know each of us kind of knows what each other likes. I can tell you right now, like Zeepeldome, probably not going to be the winner.
I haven't played like a lot of these I'm seeing, so...
You've played more of these than you think you have.
Gonna have to see, okay.
Yeah, I played most of them at least once, but there's a few on here.
You guys can give me like a quick synopsis if we ever get that, and I'll be like, okay, I know what type of game that's like.
Yeah.
And I'll either like it or I won't. So, okay.
Our first matchup has one that neither of you has probably played in it.
Yeah.
Drawful 2 is one that everyone has played. And then it's matched up with Wordspud. Wordspud's a game from the very first Jackbox Party Pack. It's a word-based game. You kind of like take a word and then somebody adds to it. It was one of the most forgettable ones in the pack. I don't feel like there's a ton of discussion here needed because there's a reason I haven't made you guys play it more often. I didn't especially like it that much. So it's just automatically Drawful 2 for me.
Drawful 2. I don't know how far it's going to go in the bracket, but it seems like an easy choice here. We usually touch on a Drawful every once in a while.
I feel like Word Spud needs more guidelines because it's a little bit just too open. Almost, it's like, hey, start with a word. Now put in another word. It can be whatever you want. And you're like, I don't know what to put in. So
Mm-hmm.
That is the answer as to what's missing now, too, now that I think about it and look more closely. There's no Drawful. There's no Quiplash 1. And I guess that makes sense. The ones that got sequels that were just like better versions and not demonstrably different. Because there are a couple of multiple versions on here. There's a couple you don't know Jacks. There's 2 of something else. Trivia Murder Party, I think?
Murder Parties.
Yeah.
Trivia Murder Party.
But those have a lot of differences between them, so that makes sense. Like Drawful 2 is just a better Drawful. Once you had 2, there was no reason to go back and play Drawful 1.
Yeah.
So that's how they got those extra ones out of here. In any case, I think Drawful 2 is a pretty safe advance.
Okay.
Yep.
This next one is where it gets a little bit more interesting for me. Split the Room is the one where you actually want to have the 2 sides split on your vote, hence the name. It's got that weird Twilight Zone cat host.
Uh-huh.
And it's up against bracketeering, which is the kind of like make an answer to a prompt and then have it match up in a bracket style, conveniently enough. These are 2 that we've played a decent amount, certainly not among our favorites, but where do you fall on this one?
So, I mean, bracketeering just by nature of the competition should just win automatically, right?
It won't.
Bracketeering, it's not going to win. No, I actually love Split the Room. For the unique nature of normally you're like, man, I got to win everybody over with this perfect answer. Split the Room's like, how can I make people be decisive on this or be polarizing? So it's fun in that sense.
Yeah, I like the prompts in Split the Room a lot of the time. It's like you wake up and you're next to Hitler, and it's like,
what do you do?
Okay, interesting. Yeah, bracketeering is fine.
It is fine. I think that one got repetitive, if I remember properly. It's kind of like the same answer won last round, so here we go again against the new one. It's like, yeah, but the joke's over.
Yeah, I also like the theme of Split the Twilight Zone, the cat, all of that kind of adds to the ambiance. It's why I like Trivia Murder Party more than I would otherwise.
Correct.
Split the Room's first round with those more extended prompts is among the best content in any of these games on this list. Its second round, where it's sort of like a mini bracketeering, where you have like one option and then other options come in and face it, and it's more quick hitting, doesn't hold up as well. But to me, it's Split the Room, and I don't think it's super close. Like you mentioned, Dave, bracketeering, you have 3 or up to 4 if you actually have 16 players, straight answers in a row where it's like the same thing. And like you said, I can count on my one hand the number of times that a joke's been funny that long.
Mm-hmm.
So it just doesn't... It's cool that bracketeering, I think, is the only game that allows 16 players without audience or other, shenanigans, but it's Split the Room.
Bracketeering is interesting because it's like the t-shirt one, where it's like a fascinating study of something that is hilarious when you run it back so many times. Like the new thing, even if not as funny as the first one, it just like it wins. People vote for it just because it's new. It's something different. It's fresh. Yep. So it's interesting from a character study, a person study. But yeah, not super fun.
We head down the list. Earwax from the second party pack, which is a game that we've sort of traditionally finished on when we were doing the Jackbox nights during the pandemic. It's basically take 2 sound effects and combine them to answer some kind of prompt. Versus Civic Doodle, which is another drawing game. This is one where you're kind of set up as though you're like a city council member or something of that nature, and you have to like answer a problem in the city, and then you expand on that, and it becomes like a mural, and it's a whole setup. Of the drawing games with long-term payoff, I think Civic Doodle is one of the worst. I still don't dislike it. I think it's fine. But when you have something like a TKO that has a lot more long-term payoff, I have to go Earwax here. It's basic, but as just kind of a throwaway game you play in like 10 minutes, I actually like it quite a bit.
I've gotten some of my deepest belly laughs from Earwax, as dumb as that is, just where it just hits the right cadence of sounds to a stupid prompt. I'm like, holy shit, that's really funny. And I actually liked Civic Doodle for what it was. It's not fantastic by any means, but I liked it. But Earwax absolutely wins, 100%, going away.
I don't really like Earwax that much, but but like the range is really incredible because I will either not even laugh at all. That's not even the person's fault. Just sometimes you get two noises. You're like, okay, that has nothing to do with any. They don't even go together, let alone for the prompt. But yeah, if you get explosion followed by larger explosion or whatever, it's like, okay, I like that.
Or a small fart followed by bigger fart. It's like, yep, nailed it.
I've never played Civic Doodle, but from what it's sounding like, I don't usually like the long-term games anyway, other than like one or two times just to see what they are.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess Earwax wins.
Its redeeming quality, I will say, is that you get to add on to someone else's drawing. So it's like someone starts a drawing and then it passes that drawing to someone else to like finish it more or less. And sometimes those can get really funny with the collaborations, the unwitting collaborations, but sometimes it's also a disaster. So
the final matchup in this quadrant is a tough one for me. I'll just say that going in. Ooh. Talking Points and Trivia Murder Party 2, both from 7. Talking Points, just as a reminder, is the game where you basically have to give a presentation and you have an assistant, and that assistant feeds you pictures that you have to sort of incorporate into your speech, but you haven't seen them before, and also sometimes part of like the text prompts involved. Everybody gives them a review at the end. Trivia Murder Party 2 is the sequel to the first one. It has a bunch of new mini games when you're in the death chambers. The trivia is somehow even more obscure and difficult, which is kind of the point. I don't want to always end up going last, though I just went first last time, but I'm going to go Talking Points here by a hair, and that's from somebody who really loved the original Trivia Murder Party. I actually like Talking Points quite a bit, but I'll admit it is extremely group dependent. More than probably any game on this list, and there's a couple more examples that fall in this category. You have to have buy-in. If people aren't willing to put themselves out there and be goofy, then this is going to be a miserable experience.
Well, yeah, and if your group is good at improv, it's going to be great. And that's like, even if there's like buy-in, I feel like sometimes like, you know, we all have those friends who aren't great at improv. But we don't really have that problem. So we do a show. I don't know if you know, it's a podcast. So Talking Points. Yeah, I think I've played, and if I haven't, I played enough that's very similar to it. So I like that one. I sort of hate Trivia Murder Party. I love the aesthetic, and I will suffer through it. I fucking hate I know, like you said, the point is to kind of really hard trivia so that you get some of those death mini games. But I just hate being like, yeah, why the fuck would I know this random ass geography question?
I'm going to toot my own horn. A lot of times I know those, and I don't know why I know them, because I have stupid memory that isn't beneficial for me in any way. And I think I've only played Talking Points once, and I don't remember it well. So I'm going to vote for Trivia Murder Party 2 on this one, because Talking Points I don't think is the best improv type style presentation game on this list. So
that's fair.
But I'm still 2-1, so it doesn't matter.
That's the end of this particular bracket. We'll come back to the winners when we get through the other three. This next one I don't even want to spend a lot of time on. Bomb Core is terrible. Again, it's not one that we've played a lot. Look, if you're into those type of games, the ones that are more like action oriented and less about like prompts and the slower, more trivia or humor based or whatever kind of experience, that's fine. I don't even like Joke Boat. That's another one that takes buy-in, but like it requires you to be almost like slapsticky in a way that I don't find to be especially funny or endearing. I think they thought they had a winner with those like silly catchphrases, but it's like, again, it's funny maybe once, but when you've been prompted to say it like the fourth time in a round, it's like, okay, I'm doing the thing. So I'm going to advance Joke Boat, but not with a whole lot of heart. And seeing what's in the next thing below it, it's not going to matter who wins this matchup because it's going to die a quick death.
I'll vote Bomb Core.
There you go.
I mean, I'll vote Bomb Core because it's a little different, and I'm with you. Joke Boat, the first time I remember playing, I'm like, okay, this has potential. And then the fourth time I said my catchphrase of slappy doodah or whatever it was, it's just like, okay, I'm done. Like, I don't want to play this game anymore. This cruise ship is going down literally and figuratively within the game. So get me out of here, please.
It's not a horrible game, Joke Boat, but it gets grating pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Bomb Core is basically just a poor man's keep talking and nobody explodes. Which I think it preceded, but I'm not positive about that. So it's not like it's a blatant ripoff, but it's a very poor man's version of that game, which has a lot more going for it. The reason we said it's going to die a quick death is because Champed Up, which is also in this side, is going to die a quick death as well. It's matched up against Fibbage 3, which I think is one of the favorites. If there were going to be 1 seeds, I think it would have been a strong contender for it.
Is this the one that is like Fibbage About You?
Yeah, so that's included in this. We kind of think of them separately, but this game does have both the regular Fibbage 3 and Fibbage Enough About You in it. So in theory, you're voting for the total package here.
Yeah, so that's the reason it wins, because Fibbage About You is one of the better creations I think they've made for in being able to insert yourself into a game so easily. And when you get the right group of people that you get to know and know pretty well, it makes it all the better.
Yeah, this is up there on my favorite games.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I think it's cute. It's fun when like you do something, Dave, and like I know it because I know you. And maybe some other people don't. Like that's the fun nature of this one. But it's funny. It's engaging. There's still like a competition, like earwax. It's not really even almost like a competition because it's so random. Like Fibbage About You, it blends everything together, and I love that.
Yep. But before you vote, Chris, because I know you're going to vote for it, what is Champed Up? I don't
Champed Up is the one where it's like pseudo wrestling packaged, and you have kind of like weird looking mascots, and it's a drawing based game where you have to like you get a prompt and you're supposed to draw it to the best of your ability, and then the other person gets to see your drawing but not the prompt, and they're supposed to make like another drawing that battles that drawing. It does work at times. Sometimes the results you get are really uncanny. You don't know what the prompt is, but you stumbled on something good. Sometimes it's so far off that it ends up being funny. Not really a bad game. It would probably be in the top half of all these games here for me, but it's no Fibbage 3.
There.
So it goes on. I'm a little bit torn by this next one. Blather Rounds from 7. I don't know how well you remember it. We probably only played it the once, although we played multiple games in that session. It's the one where you basically have to get people to guess your prompt without being able to use the words themselves. And you can eventually give like little hints by selecting various categories on your phone, but they're generally vague because they're only like sort of around what you're trying to get them to say. It's kind of like one of the least accessible games in this whole set, which is funny because it's matched up with Guespionage, which is one of the most accessible games in this set, because anybody who's ever played like Family Feud or Card Sharks or anything that involves, we surveyed this many people, how many said this, can figure that one out pretty quickly.
That's intuitive, even if you haven't seen them. So
is it like what? God, what's that game? The you have the catchphrase. It's almost like a catchphrase,
essentially, but you're limited in what you can. So instead of being able to just give whatever clues you think of, you're sort of confined to this list on your phone that gives you like, it's a person that's cold. It's a
I remember this one.
Yeah, I think we enjoyed it. We've never gone back to it yet. And I think part of the problem is it's only 2 to 6 players. We often have a full house of 8. So it gets shunned from our list sometimes just because, we don't want to have people leave for a while. But we did play, I think, 3 or 4 games of it the first time we tried it and liked it quite a bit.
I love that. I had a lot of fun playing that. I'm stumbling right now because I'm realizing you don't know Jack is not on this list.
It's on the right side twice.
Thank God. Really?
It's YDKJ, yeah.
Okay. Anyways, I love Guespionage though. If I was doing number 1 seeds, it would be Guespionage, You Don't Know Jack, one of the ones above that we just talked about, Fibbage 3, and Quiplash. That's what it would be. Those would be my number 1 seeds. I love Guespionage. And I think it's so cool. Like you always see games like this on like the Game Show Network and sort of to an extent like Family Feud, kind of. And I think it's super fun to be able to have it in like game form. I love it. It's like maybe my favorite one. Spoilers for later.
I think it works honestly really well too because of the first person who has to make their guess of like they give a survey question, how many people say they use their phone while in the bathroom, something like that, and you pick 90% or whatever it is, and then you can pick the lower or much lower, and that aspect of it makes it all the better because you're like, ooh, can I get those extra points? Can I take that gamble?
Yeah.
It makes it all the better to be like, I'm smarter than all of you because I know what people think, and then you're dead wrong, of course. Well, in my case, usually I am. So Yeah, so that little aspect definitely wins espionage for me. I think I could get behind Blather Around if I played it more frequently, but I don't know, the simplicity of espionage with a little bit of spin in there, I like it.
It's a shame because I like Blather Round, and it's unfortunate that it's looking like a first round exit. But
yeah, it's a tough draw for it because I think I'm with you. I think I would vote Espionage. It would be extremely close for me. Like you said, I'd have to play Blather Around more. I thought it was going to be too limited at first, but I think there's enough wiggle room in describing things that it's still pretty fun. But I want to give it another rep. So it goes home. Espionage advances. Do we even need to bother with Zeepeldome versus Quiplash 3?
Let's just say Quiplash 3. We'll get into the discussion eventually of which Quiplash is the best, but let's just say Quiplash 3 and move on for now.
What is Zeepeldome? That's all I want to know.
Zeepeldome, I think, is another one of those active ones, if I'm remembering it correctly. Let me pull up the list. I have them up here so I can refer to it. Yeah, it's another one of the action-based games. This was the one where I think you had, like... Yeah, it was like you could like knock a ball around an arena and stuff like that. It was like it was like a space / it was an action game. That's why we don't play a lot of those.
Okay, that's fine.
I like that they keep dipping their toes in that water, but I can't say any of those have ever really latched on with me.
Can you click on these as you go and it shows our winners?
No, it looks like there's a thing there, but I looked around trying to find an actual like drop-down box version of this and couldn't find one. People were like photoshopping in their own answers.
Oh, well, thanks, Jackbox. You make good stuff, and then sometimes.
So I have the list of them, and we'll go down the list both for our visual and our audio listeners. But yeah, we'll go to the right-hand side. Up top is a game that only Dave likes. Actually, I think Shaun doesn't hate this one either. I have gone on record as saying I'm not a huge fan of Bidiots. And it's matched up with the original Trivia Murder Party, which is a game I enjoy more than the sequel in a lot of ways. But Bidiots Trivia Murder Party, go.
This is unfortunate too, because like you said, I do like Bidiots. This is the best Trivia Murder Party ever was. I feel like in this Trivia Murder Party, it was like, which of these Shakespeare characters it does not belong, or like isn't a Shakespeare character? Whereas Trivia Murder Party 2 is like, on what island did Shakespeare's wife die? And you're like, what? There's so many issues with this question. So I would say Trivia Murder Party. We played it a lot more. I think there's a little more there, but I don't hate Bidiots.
So the reason I like Bidiots as much as I do, and I'm voting for it, by the way, even though I do love Trivia Murder Party, I'm still voting for Bidiots. The reason I love Bidiots so much is because I suck at drawing, and that doesn't hurt you in this game. It's not like, oh man, I can't even have a hope of telling what this is. Like sometimes in Drawful, I'm like, I draw something so terribly in Drawful that people are like, a question mark? A piece of shit that you stepped on, like no one has a clue what I drew. Bidiots, sometimes it's like, well, I have a vague idea what this is, so bid it up, baby. And I love the auction aspect of it, the art, the people calling you in and saying like, I think like this piece of art is worth a ton more than this one. The faking people out, it's so many layers to it. I love Bidiots.
I've tried to figure out why I dislike it, and I think it's because on the ones where people have a hint that it's going to be worth a lot of money, you get into these bidding wars that'll often last 2 or 3 minutes. And while I know that's sort of realistic to the process, for the players that aren't involved in it, whether because they don't have money, they don't have a clue what it's worth, or whatever, it's a lot of just kind of sitting around. And between that and the fact that like the loan system is weird, where it's like, oh, you spent all your money? Here's some more money. And it's like, I know there's a penalty for that, so it balances it to some extent. But it's really hard to ever know where you stand because you don't know who's taking loans. So strategically, you're kind of like, you can tell when someone is, like they mentioned that they do a little cute jingle that's funny, but then you don't know who's taking it. So you're like, well, now I'm bidding against this person. How high can they go? How much money do they have? I have no way of knowing.
Yeah.
So strategically, I think between that and some of the delays in it, I think that's why I'm not a huge fan. I'm going to vote Trivia Murder Party so it advances 2-1.
So if the commentator and his commentating is fantastic. I mean, it sounds legit, real fat. Like it's an auction man. Somehow he does a really good job as an AI of communicating like he's an actual auctioneer. I think they do a fantastic job with it. Maybe there's a Bidiots 2 out there that's faster and lets you get loans on the fly or something like that. That's better. I don't know. Maybe they'll
Dave, next time I visit you, we'll play more Bidiots.
Okay, cool. Like it.
Bidiots is also only 6 players, which hurts it.
Yeah.
Which, fair or not, is the same problem with like Blather Around, which I really like. It's just we often have 7 or 8, so it gets pushed to the side. Speaking of only 6 people, Faking It, back from I think the second Jackbox. This was one where it was like you answer 3 questions, but some people get fake prompts, so you have to try and see if you can tell the person who had the fake prompts. But there's like an in-person component. Sometimes you have to like point at people or make secret hand gestures. So it's one of the few games that actually is not very Zoom or Skype friendly. And it's up against Dictionarium, which is one of the more recent additions. Dictionarium is basically like make up a fake word based on this prompt and then make up a fake definition for the fake word and then use the fake word and its fake definition in a fake sentence. It has a really cute theme song. I'm going to pick Dictionarium. I'll go early on this one. I actually think it's kind of charming. Granted, I'm a word guy, so I'm sure there are some people who absolutely can't stand this game. One thing in its favor, I'll be honest, it's only like 5 minutes. And I don't mind that some of these games go longer most of the time. I love them, so I'm invested. But it is kind of nice and like a palate cleanser to not have a game that takes 20 minutes. TKO. So I'm going to pick Dictionarium here.
Dave, why don't you go next? Because I haven't played either of these.
Faking It is one that I ask to play consistently, and no one ever wants to. So it kind of pisses me off, and I almost want to vote for it merely for that fact. Because it's one of those think on your feet type of games. Like you gotta pay attention to the clues. You gotta be sneaky. Some of those things that I like, and I love group games when you're all in the same room and everyone's kind of gotta work together or against each other in a way, and you're not sure which side it's on. And when everyone gets buy-in in that, it's a lot of fun. However, for all the reasons Chris just said about Dictionarium, I'm not as good of a word guy as Chris, but I do enjoy that type of stuff. Also, it is 5 minutes long. It's kind of nice to be like, hey, you want to play this really quickly? All right, knock it out. Okay, well, nobody liked that. Okay, move on. That type of thing. So I would vote for Dictionarium to move on, even though I want to play Faking It much more.
Dave, if you had voted for Faking It, I would have voted for it because it sounds like Among Us. And everybody's pretty sus, and I like that.
Well,
but oh well.
We have another game that's like Among Us later, don't worry. Next up is 2 that we've all barely played. And that's Patently Stupid. That's like here's a problem, invent a solution. You have a drawing, usually you have like a catchphrase, a slogan. This one's sort of like the precursor to Talking Points in that it kind of involves buy-in.
Yeah.
You need to have people that are kind of willing to put themselves out there, who don't mind talking about a subject about which they have very little knowledge. But it does lead to some pretty humorous results, I think, a decent amount of time. I think it's a pretty good winner. It's up against Monster Seeking Monster. Admittedly, if I'm being honest, one of my least favorite games that they've done. I feel like the idea was solid, but the execution was lacking. I want to pull up their description of it so I'm not misremembering it. Like I know in my head I know which game it is, but if I tell you guys, I want to be correct.
Yeah. Well, I played this one too, and you have different tasks that you have to do around the house.
Nope,
that's a different one.
The details.
Oh,
yeah, we'll get there.
God, no, I know this one. It's the dating one.
Dating game,
yeah,
yes.
it's dating.
I don't even think I understood it.
You each have
way.
like a secret power, and there's like an overlap in trying to figure out who matches with what. And I don't mind that it exists. I like that they gave it a shot. I don't think it was executed all that well, personally.
Yeah, the first time I ever tried to play Monster Seeking Monster, it actually wasn't with you guys. It was with another couple, that a friend of Courtney's that I didn't know super well, and so when I tried to play it, it was really awkward sometimes. And it's like, this person wants to date you, and it was Courtney's friend's husband, and I'm like, really? That's weird. So the crowd wasn't as good, but even so, I don't think the game was that strong. Patently Stupid for me would be a 2 seed on my list. I love this game for all the reasons I've said earlier about buy-in, improv, and presentation skills. I actually like giving presentations a lot of time, and this is like a PowerPoint of stupidity, and I love it.
Yeah, this one's fun. This was like the version of Talking Points that I don't know if it's better, but yeah, this is what I thought of when I heard that one. I like this game. It's like I don't often want to play it because it's kind of like tires me out. But it's good. If you have a good group for it, it's very good. And I mean, it's way better than Monster Seeing Monster. So
I will never forget the time I invented something super simple. I like put a handle on a door or something, and it won like 3 rounds. And Shaun just got so pissed off that he's like, "All right, well, my machine's better because it's better than a fucking handle on a door." And like, it was the best.
There was something where like mine did what yours did, but like, and 100 other things. and people kept voting for yours, and I was like, mine does that.
He's not bitter about it.
I loved it.
Not bitter.
So mad. I think it had to do with a freeze ray, but anyways.
Something, I don't know what it was, but it was fantastic. It was just great. I love that game, and I love when you have to sell something and you got to be like in your face and really like push something that's completely idiotic. It's great.
Our final entry in this quadrant, is Lice Water, which goes back to the very first Jackbox, and I think it was a mini game in one of the You Don't Know Jacks. Maybe the ride. Don't quote me on that. My old You Don't Know Jack knowledge is slipping because I haven't played any of them in literal decades at this point. It's been like 20 years. It's basically like everybody sees these set of facts, and you have to identify the lie among them, and the quicker you do it, the more points you get. It was Jackbox 1, so it was pretty basic. It's fine, but it's up against Survive the Internet. I don't think we need a lot of discussion on this. It's one of Dave's favorites. It's risen up my list. The one thing I'll say about it is this. The key is you need to have good prompts on the front end. Mm-hmm. If people answer questions too literally, like it's a fibbage or something, then you don't give anybody else anything to work with. If somebody asks you, like, what's your favorite flavor? And you'll be like, of ice cream. And you'll be like, Rocky Road. Great. But if you're like, 2 scoops of Eat My Ass, then somebody else who gets this prompt of 2 scoops of Eat My Ass is like, what? And they can spin that into something that's funny on their own. So if you've ever played this game and found it kind of lacking, be goofier on the initial prompts when there's no stakes to it. It'll make the experience a lot better.
More than any other game on this list, I see Survive the Internet, and I'm like, when I play Survive the Internet, I think, man, my sense of humor must just be different than everybody else's. Either they don't like my prompts or I don't like their prompts. It just, I don't know. There's a disconnect on Survive the Internet.
Have you ever considered
that I'm just not funny? Yes, every day.
Good. Okay. I'm glad you could finish that sentence for me because that's exactly what I was
saying. Great.
I'm picking Survive the Internet wins. Just move it on. It's great. I love it.
Lice Water is okay at best. It's fine. It's very forgettable. All right, the bottom right quadrant, and then we'll kind of speed through the other matchups because we'll have already talked about most of them except Quiplash. Mad vs. City, which is the battle rap robots. It is a really cool concept that I don't find works as well as I think it should, which is a bummer because, like I said, I think it's like the aesthetics of it are great. It sort of is like akin to Trivia Murder Party. Not quite the same, but like I love the setup. I think it's like really cool, the graphics, the robots they've created to fight each other, but I don't know. It's just the number of times a rap actually lands given the format is not as high as I'd like. And then role models I want to pull up just to make sure I don't describe it wrong. Here it is. This is a weird one. It's almost like a social experiment more than it is a game because you're basically like doing data analysis and you go certain categories and you vote for which player fits that like subset of that category. So like Star Wars characters, and you vote, all right, this person in our group's most like Princess Leia, this one's most like Han Solo. It's interesting. There is a winner and a loser, but not really. And it's also capped at 6 players, so that doesn't help it.
Yeah, I like Mad vs. City. The other one sounds weird. I've never played it, but I don't love Mad vs. City. But it's fun, especially if you like writing your first line in a way where you know you're later going to try to like rhyme and key off of that. And it makes the process like pretty fun.
Yeah, I don't like role models very much. It's an interesting game, but it's not fun that I've noticed when I play it. And Mad vs. City for me is infuriating because I am really bad at writing rhymes. And so I sit there staring, like I'll write the first line and think like, okay, that wasn't bad. And then I'll stare at it trying to rhyme and I'm like, okay, that doesn't fit. Too many syllables. Shit, I have 2 seconds left. Oh God.
Yeah.
And so too often I'm not good at it enough. But sometimes when they land, they're great. But other times it's got a high range. I think.
I like thinking of where I want to end with my burn on Dave, and then working backwards.
Mm-hmm.
It's completely true.
And
just it.
Understanding the format helps. So that's another one, kind of like Survive the Internet, where it's like you have to realize you're giving yourself an alley-oop. So if the first line of it has it's like a line that's pre-made and then fill in the blank, and then a whole written second line, pre-written line, fill in the blank, whole written fourth line. If the rap starts out, you must be stupid, your favorite color is blank, and you put orange, you've just fucked yourself. Okay, you threw the alley-oop into the 5th row. There's no one to dunk it. So like once you understand that, I think it helps. But there is still the issue of like if you're not really a rhyming person, you're gonna struggle here. I'm still gonna vote Mad vs. City.
Yeah.
Me too. I'm still voting for it because Role Models I think it has potential, but it's just not fun.
That's what I think you hit it on the head though. Like it is interesting, and you get some kind of cool results. The motif is fine, but I'm never like eager to play it. I'm not like yeah, Role Models, cool. Next round is tough, and that's because the very first episode of this show had You Don't Know Jack reviewed in it when it was revived for the first time in almost I think 9 years. There's 2 different versions of it on here. Full Stream is the one that eventually also made its way to Facebook. So this is You Don't Know Jack Full Stream up against TKO. We've referenced it a couple times. It's basically you create a t-shirt logo and then you create a series of slogans and then somebody else gets to look at the different pictures. They get like presented 3 different pictures and 3 or 4 different slogans and they pick the best one. They make a shirt out of it. Those shirts go head to head. They knock each other out, hence the name. I'll go first on this one. TKO is one of the most polarizing games on this list because it is super cool. Some of the end results are funny. There's been a handful of times I've been like, I would buy that shirt because it was funny or stupid or the drawing was good or all the above. It's also the most frustrating if you ever have any connection issues or anything comes and interrupts the game because there's a lot of pre-work on it that pays off pretty well, but the ratio is kind of skewed. Whereas You Don't Know Jack is just You Don't Know Jack. So I'm probably going with You Don't Know Jack here.
TKO is weird because it kind of like the process is fun, but then it sort of just like ends with a thud. It's not one of the ones that's not that I don't usually care that much when we play about who wins, but like it's important to me that there is like that competition because that's what makes it fun. And TKO is like, I guess so and so. I don't know. The climax is sort of anti for me, but it doesn't really matter because I absolutely love You Don't Know Jack.
Yeah, this version of You Don't Know Jack I think is one of the newest ones. I think the one that has binge pipe in there and like this semi kind of weird corporation taking over. I think so.
Well, you're right, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So I really do like TKO. I think in the sense of when something lands, it lands really well. Like Chris said, I would buy that T-shirt. That looks fantastic. But it suffers from some of the same problems that the bracketeering did.
Yep.
That some of the repetition, where it's like, okay, this shirt's up against this one. All right, well, I've seen this shirt 5 times in a row. It's funny, but this one's new, so it's hitting me in a different way. So if it had more of a, okay, here's 6 shirts, pick your favorite. Okay, now it's matched up with these other 6. If you could like match them up or rank them or something, it might be better. But also, I wish I had more prompts in it with your t-shirts because it's just like, okay, draw something. Okay, well, shit. Okay, I drew what I wanted to last time. Now what the hell do I do?
Yeah,
I'm torn.
You Don't Know Jack is You Don't Know Jack. So
yeah. I think TKO would be better if it didn't have that very last round where it took like the strongest t-shirt performers and then matched them up again one last time to determine a winner. But then it's even more front-loaded if you take that out. It would have to be replaced with something else that made the effort you put in worth it. It's fun. In a lot of first-round matchups, it might have advanced at least once.
Yeah.
Not here.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yep.
I want to get into the details. I can see a world where You Don't Know Jack is going to be going against itself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we can really analyze it. If not, maybe we take a opportunity elsewhere. But
yeah. Fibbage 2 and the Devils and the Details. Devils and the Details is the one that Shaun thought we were talking about earlier. It's the one where you have different like monsters or demons and the like, and you have to perform tasks. It's primarily a co-op game. There is a head-to-head component, though, where you can like sabotage things or go off on your own and do tasks. It involves some cooperation. Makes it difficult to play over Skype because a lot of times you have to talk over each other because somebody's giving directions to go to the store to somebody else, and then somebody else is trying to get a phone number out of a phone book to other players. It's interesting. I didn't dislike it, and it's tough because Fibbage 2 is basically just Fibbage 3 poor man's version. Now, at the time, it was a much better Fibbage, but I guess I'm going to go Devils in the Details and shrug my shoulders knowing it's going to lose in the next round.
I don't like Devils in the Details, like almost at all. It's in some ways it's like Among Us, but worse. In other ways, it's frustrating. Even if you're trying to play it straight, it's frustrating. I don't really like the mini games. And I'm just kind of like, why did we go through this effort? So I'll go with Fibbage 2. It's inferior to Fibbage 3, but it wins for me here.
Yeah, I'm kind of split between these two. Maybe someone split the room on me on this. But I don't mind devils in the details for the sense of if most everyone is playing it straight and then there's that one person who's sabotaging, it's kind of satisfying to find that one person that's sabotaging or work together to finish your goal. And it is kind of like that team co-op type of thing, but in the end it's an individual winner, which is kind of like a cool twist on it. But even so, Fibbage, the first time I played it, was just unique. It was creative but also trivia at the same time.
Yeah.
And then I had one time where I actually got the final answer right, which is supposed to be like impossible, and I actually got it right, and I'm like, shit, what do I do? So it was kind of fun in that sense, where I got everyone to vote for it because I knew it was a Simpsons. It was basically a Simpsons answer, and so I just changed the character, and basically everyone voted for it. But even so, it's a fun game. I think it was creative, and I like it, and so it'll move on.
I do kind of have a soft spot, especially for the first Fibbage and the second one, for the most part, because there were things like that where it's like supposed to be an obscure story from 6 years ago, some random headline. And of course, given my line of work, there are occasions where I'm like, oh yeah, I read about that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, put this in. Oh, too close to the right answer. Okay, put this in then. It's a small thing, but I like it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Fibbage 2 goes on.
Yep.
Yep.
Our last matchup of the first round, we'll have to go a little bit more lightning round, at least till we get maybe towards the finals after this, but we'll have talked about all of them by then. I won't waste much time. I'll go first on it. Push the button is like you're a bunch of you're a bunch of people on a spaceship. One or two of you is an alien, and you're working to undermine tasks. This is the Among Us of the group. I don't really like these type of games in general. Among Us was better than this, if I'm being honest, but even then, it's not really my cup of tea. It's up against another You Don't Know Jack. We'll talk about the two of them when they match up almost inevitably. It's You Don't Know Jack for me. That's all I have to say.
I love Among Us, actually, and this is worse than Among Us, though, so it's like I'd rather just play Among Us. So this one's pretty forgettable, I guess, for me. And then, yeah, You Don't Know Jack. I love You Don't Know Jack.
I don't think I've ever played Push the Button, but it's You Don't Know Jack, so...
Yeah, Dave, you would have been super sus, just like always.
Just like always. Is this 2015 hosted by Cookie? That's what I need to know.
Dave is like the worst liar you've ever seen in your life.
I'm such a bad liar that even when I'm telling the truth, everyone thinks I'm lying.
Well, that's Lincoln. He's like, I swear to God, I'm not. And you're like, just like, everything about you is suspicious right now.
Yeah, stop.
You're. Anyways, we got to move on. But It's hilarious trying to hear you lie.
All right, we head back to the top left, head into the second round. In this bracket, Drawful 2, Split the Room, Earwax, and Talking Points. So it's Drawful 2 against Split the Room. I got to be honest, I don't love Drawful 2. I suck at drawing, so getting these type of prompts that are going to be drawing obscure things is in some ways a blessing and a curse, because like I can't draw anyways, so who cares if it's obscure as hell. I'm going to take Drawful 2 here, but not by a wide margin.
This one's hard for me. Actually, you know what, Dave? Why don't you vote? I don't want
to... Ooh... Shaun is going to be the deciding vote because I am right with Chris in that sense, where Drawful 2 infuriates me from time to time because I'm terrible at drawing. And it's even worse when I have a phone where I have to be like, okay. Like, if I could actually draw with a pencil or a pen, it may be better. Who knows? But Split the Room, again, unique. I love the fact that you have to try to be polarizing. So I'm going to vote for Split the Room.
This is what I didn't want, actually. I didn't want to be the decider. Because I think Split the Room is like a better game, but Drawful 2 is way more accessible, and we play it a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go Drawful 2.
Oof. Fair. Close one. I was going to be surprised, but not shocked, if Drawful got knocked out here. I think it's the favorite in this side of the bracket. But, not all the chalk always advances. So.
Yeah.
Earwax and Talking Points. Earwax is the sound effects one. Talking Points is the presentation. As funny as I think Earwax is at times, I'm actually going to vote for Talking Points. I think there's a lot of untapped potential there that we haven't really seen yet because we've only played this a few times, but I think it's among the funniest games out of anything on this list.
Yeah, I already said I don't really love Earwax, so that's fine with me.
I think that we need to play again this Saturday and play Talking Points because I need to get to know it better because I'm voting Earwax just after more familiarity and its highs are high.
There you go. Go ahead and come on over.
Hey, that's fine. It makes it a close margin. So, it lost, but with its head held high. Fibbage 3 advances over Joke Boat.
Yep.
Just going to go ahead and put that one out there.
Oh, God.
Now we have two of, at least for Shaun, were 1 seeds. That's not the case for me, so my choice here is pretty easy.
Yeah.
Espionage and Quiplash 3. Quiplash 3 is in a difficult position to get knocked off for me because it represents all the Quiplashes, because there are no other ones on this list.
Oh, that's a good
I
point.
think we need a quick description of Quiplash, just since we didn't talk about it at all last round.
That's fair. It's basically like open-ended prompt answering, and they go head-to-head, and you pick your winner. But what's beautiful about that is the prompts are all, especially as the series has gone on, very open-ended and leave a lot of room for funny or witty or humorous or just smart answers.
Mm-hmm.
This is one that like I would play every single time we do a Jackbox night and not really ever get tired of it. I mean, I don't know about ever, but you know what I mean. Like of anything on this list, that's the one I'm like, yeah, like we'll put that in the rotation, and we'll also play like these 3 or 4.
Yep.
So
I hate it when let me just get this out there. Quiplash. There'll be sometimes where the answer is like really obvious. And I will like play off of the obviousness. So there's like another layer there. And then another person will go the obvious route. And when the obvious wins, even though I put more work in, and it's basically the same answer, but more creative and thoughtful, and I lose, it drives me crazy.
Oh, you're just too smart for the room.
Yeah, the most beautiful Dave. I'm not the one saying I get all the trivia right, mister.
I didn't say smart. I said I had useless information in my brain. There's a difference.
That's
sir.
a humble brag.
Useless information.
So I love Gaspionage. I actually would prefer to play Gaspionage. But for the same reason I voted Drawful 2, Quiplash is a staple. We play it every time. It's fun every time. It's accessible. Everybody likes it. It's just like a great party game. It's like the definition of these Jackbox games. So I'm voting Quiplash.
Yeah, the range of Quiplash, I've played Quiplash with my 9-year-old cousin, who was actually pretty creative on it when we turned on the safety, the more family-friendly version of it. And some of the best things that ever happen in Quiplash is when we get recurring jokes where there's callbacks and, making fun of the people in the room. Again, all these games are based on who you play with because it's so integral to how your experience. But yeah, Quiplash is just fantastic. I'm with Chris. I'll play it all the time.
There's the rare times where you accidentally end up with the same answer. And you get omega fucked because nobody gets any points, but it's usually hilarious when it happens.
Yeah.
Because it's very rarely like a layup where it's just like, oh yeah, that's like the one word answer people would put. It's something that seems like a reach, but because your group of friends is relatively close knit, they might make the same reference or something like that. Those are the best. I love those.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, that's that side of the bracket. We have a Elite 8 on that side of Drawful 2, Talking Points, Fibbage 3, and Quiplash 3. We move to the right side. Trivia Murder Party versus Dictionarium.
Trivia Murder Party. I mean, we barely voted for Dictionarium as it was.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a quirky, cute little game. I like that it exists. Trivia Murder Party we played the shit out of back then.
Yeah. Yep.
This one's a little tougher. Patently Stupid and Survive the Internet.
Again, I don't love Survive the Internet. It's just... I don't know why. I just don't. But it's kind of the same with Quiplash. It's simple and fun and accessible, and people laugh a lot. So while I like Patently Stupid, it's exhausting. It takes a lot of time. You have to really buy in. So if I'm feeling just like sort of tired, not a good one. So I would vote Survive the Internet.
Yeah, I'm as much as I love Patently Stupid, you're right in all of that. It really is one of those games you can play once in a month, once in every 2, 3, 4 sessions, and be like, okay, I'm good. I've had my fill for a while. Survive the Internet, I can play every single time we have a Jackbox night. One of the underrated parts of Survive the Internet is some of the background jokes where like the guy does a Google search and hides it or has someone IM him, instant message him. It's funny. I think it's got a lot of really, really solid content. And I don't know, for our group, we've had the hashtag blessed joke that just we have run into the ground and still is somehow funny. So Shaun doesn't think it's funny, but it's fine. I still love it.
That's what I'm saying. I don't get it, Dave. I'm not funny, and I'm trying to wrestle with that.
There's nothing to get. It's just funny.
On the bottom half of this bracket, well, I don't want to give these things short shrift. Is anybody going to vote for Madverse City over You Don't Know Jack or Fibbage 2 over You Don't Know Jack?
Hell no.
I'm close on Fibbage 2 over You Don't Know Jack because since there already is a You Don't Know Jack, but I don't know. We have Fibbage 3, so yeah, You Don't Know Jack goes.
Okay, I was gonna say I'm not close, so Shaun and I will vote you even if you do. So if you want to go Fibbage 2 as like a symbol.
No.
Okay.
We're gearing up for me what will be the hardest decision in this entire thing.
Okay. So that's our Elite 8 on the right-hand side. Trivia Murder Party, Survive the Internet, and the 2 You Don't Know Jacks. We'll get back to those 2 because one of them is going to be gone here. We'll talk about that. But on the top left, Drawful 2 and Talking Points to emerge from that region.
Probably Drawful 2 for the same reason as before. It's It's simple and fun enough and accessible. Yeah.
This is totally a matchup deal that I'm voting for Drawful 2 because I totally would have voted Split the Room to move on. But again, I just got to play Talking Points more. But Drawful 2 moves on for me.
Yeah.
It's tough. I think Talking Points is going to be one of my favorites once I've played it more. I think it's hovering there, but I haven't played it enough. I'll admit it's definitely one of the least accessible games in here, though. You can't just be like, hey, never played a Jackbox game before? Let's start with Talking Points because you're going to scare them off so fast.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now we get down here on the bottom left, and we have what I think is our first Clash of Titans. Fibbage 3, Quiplash 3.
This could have been like a finals.
This could have been a championship match.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep. I had that thought when I saw the bracket. This was the one I looked at. I was like, ooh.
It's really hard for me because, like I said before, Quiplash is the staple. But I prefer I have more fun and I get less infuriated playing Fibbage. So I'm voting Fibbage. I'm voting the. It's not going to matter, but I'm voting Fibbage.
So the Fibbage About You is the only thing that pushes me even into consideration either way on this one, because Fibbage About You is so fantastic of just you, the group. It's, you try to make things up. You actually learn things about people. Like one of our friends wanted to be a garbage man when we grew up, and we have not let him forget that
Yep.
at all. So I think, however, Quiplash 3 and simplicity and open-endedness and laughs that I get from it, I still pick Quiplash 3.
I had to pick Quiplash.
Again, this could have been a championship matchup.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
I would much rather have one of these in there over Drawful 2, and I like Drawful 2 quite a bit, but like if that was the two on the left-hand side, but this is the way they set it up, and we're going to abide by the rules, because again, like they made this. It wasn't just some random fan or something. Like they set it up this way, so we got to abide by it. So you did go Quiplash, right, Dave? There was a dog barking.
Quiplash.
Okay.
Okay.
Just making sure I don't want to push the wrong one forward. On the right-hand side, Trivia Murder Party and Survive the Internet. I got to admit, even though the shine has faded on Trivia Murder Party over time, I did really play the hell out of the original, so I think I'm going to take that one.
I'll probably go, if the trivia was better, I would have gone Trivia Murder Party, but it pisses me off. It's so annoying. Even though I don't love Survive the Internet, I'm voting for it.
I did not expect to be a tiebreaker in this one. And now I have to do some real consideration because I like both of these a lot. And since the other Trivia Murder Party is gone, the representation is therefore gone, which it makes this even more difficult. I am going to go with Trivia Murder Party, I think. And it's because of the motif of the game, the fun side mini games, the excitement at the end. Like you kind of feel a bit of anxiety, adrenaline rush at the end when you're trying to like, oh God, the floor is falling and I've got to answer these questions. Go, go, go. Like even though you have plenty of time to do it, it still feels like there's a rush to do it. I love Survive the Internet. I think it's great. I want to play it every time, but Trivia Murder Party wins.
I think on the first Trivia Murder Party, I got second place like 10 times in a row, and I was fucking pissed. Now, Trivia Murder Party 2, I'm like 4th, 5th, 6th. That's not close anymore.
You
but...
fall off the floor right immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, Trivia Murder Party 2 has some nice quality of life upgrades. The motif is even stronger. The end credit song is great. But the trivia went so far off the deep end that it's like, it doesn't matter anymore. You're not going to know almost anything at this point. It's going to be guesses or luck or nothing. So the first one, well, it was hard at times and obscure certainly at times. It just didn't feel that way like we've touched on. So, all right, the two you don't know, Jax. Full Stream, as Dave mentioned, is the more recent one. It's the 8-player one. It has the, I think, best version of the Jack Attack we've ever seen, which allows for everybody to play and answer. It has a speed component, but not so much that like if you're not the first one to buzz in, you get nothing. So that's one of the highlights of it. 8 players. Brought back the gibberish question, which I like and almost nobody else does.
I love it.
Better Jack Attack. 2015, only 4 players. It was on the very first Jackbox pack. The only thing that we really loved about it, though, that makes this a little tough for me, is it had the wrong answer to the game.
Yep.
Which was both really rewarding and infuriating at times because you could look for it the whole game and miss it. You could look for it to your own detriment because you would waste time ringing in looking for some obscure reference to a wrong answer that didn't exist because it was based on time then. I don't know where I stand on this one. They're close because I've had things I like about both.
I think you just said it, though. The part that we love about 2015 was the wrong answer of the game. It was so fun, super rewarding. I loved it. Almost never happened, but if you're the only one who gets the wrong answer, right? Like you've spotted the wrong answer, it feels really good. But its biggest strength is also one of the game's like biggest weaknesses from like a game perspective. So, and I absolutely hated. Maybe if there was people that I played with less good reaction time, I would have liked the Jack Attack better. But it didn't fucking matter what when you knew it. There was a time I knew, like, I was like, I almost guarantee this next one's going to be right. So I hit it before the prompt even showed up, and I still lost. So, no, I can't vote for that.
So I think there actually is video evidence on our YouTube channel of a You Don't Know Jack game where I picked the right answer and was gloating, like, how the hell did you guys not know this? And you guys just sat there silently. And then I missed the wrong answer of the game, and both of you got it, and you just laughed at me, as you should have.
Yeah, I don't know if we were just in, like, weird moods when we played that back then, that little stretch where we recorded a bunch of them, because we were very antagonistic in that, more so than almost anything else we've done for the channel, and I don't really know why.
I don't either. It was a weird time in our lives.
I'm always antagonistic.
And it's not like it strained our friendships or anything. We're all still here now. I don't think you guys hate each other and me, but I don't know. In any case, I'm going to vote through full stream. I liked 2015 and had more themed episodes, which were a plus. It was more reminiscent of the old school You Don't Know Jack experience, but it also meant that you had fewer players. And as much as I liked the wrong answer, it was occasionally more frustrating than it was worth it. I do miss the fact that you could buzz in quicker and get more money, though. I don't really like that it's all or nothing in the new one. That's one of my main complaints with it.
I'm going with full stream as well. I love the 8-player aspect, and I love the binge pipe, creepy corporation type of, Big Brother type of feel to the game. It kind of Cookie, you can sense a sense of dread in him and a sense of like, I can't talk over them type of, I don't know. There's something about it that makes it great.
And the Jack Attack is so good now.
Yeah.
Like, I love that.
What a great upgrade.
Yeah.
And again, for everyone. And they had to. 8 people you couldn't do first to buzz in. Like, that would be awful. So good on them for adjusting it, knowing that they needed to. But it's a huge highlight now. And they're funny still. Like, they have almost more of the humor you've come to expect from that, because now instead of just like one correct answer and some fakes and a couple jokes, now there's usually multiple, which means the jokes are sharper because they're meant to get you to buzz in quickly before you realize, oh shit, that's not the right... So just excellent there.
Yeah.
With this Final Four, I'm about wrapped up, I got to be honest, because I'm taking Quiplash 3 over Drawful 2 without much hesitation. Yeah, you guys can change my mind.
No, it was luck that it even made it this far, so Quiplash for sure.
Drawful 2 making to the Final Four was matchups and matchups only. It is the weakest Final Four out of the group by far. Mm-hmm. So.
And Trivia Murder Party, which is a game we've talked up quite a bit, and again, we've played the hell out of it. I've said it 3 times now. It's up because You Don't Know Jack, and that's tough because, again, our origins are sort of rooted in that, like, inadvertently. It's not like we played at a time, but we just happened to be on that kick when we first started this show. I'm taking You Don't Know Jack.
That's a cool matchup, though, because it's both like the trivia offerings from this package. But yeah, You Don't Know Jack for sure.
So, just
Dave, are you Don't Know Jack, or are you maybe Trivia Murder Party?
No, I'm You Don't Know Jack, and I'm remembering back to getting the You Don't Know Jack CD and putting it in my parents' computer when Chris and I were 15 years old, and playing that for the very first time. And the fact that here we are 21 years later still playing this fucking game is fantastic.
I can still picture that. I can picture where the desk was in that room. There's a piano there now. Like, I can that for some reason that's like a tentpole moment. Our final is Quiplash 3 and You Don't Know Jack, and this is kind of interesting because they're very different. You know, Quiplash is our survivor out of all these open-ended, prompt-based, head-to-head, creative-type games, whereas You Don't Know Jack is the trivia representative, as you mentioned. Like, we had that on that right-hand side in the 2 finalists. I have to go Quiplash 3. It's the embodiment of what I think of when I think of the Jackbox Party Pack, and while I love You Don't Know Jack, I think losing in the finals is still a perfectly fine outcome for it.
Dave, let me go next because I'm going You Don't Know Jack.
Ooh.
I love trivia. I think the writing is really smart, and it's funny, and I love everything about the presentation. The questions, I think it's the right level of trivia where you're gonna know most of the time at least like half. And that feels good. I don't play trivia to get my fucking ass kicked completely. Make me feel bad about myself at the end. So, I would play You Don't Know Jack as much as we play Quiplash. I think our group prefers Quiplash. If you guys want to play You Don't Know Jack, I am always down for playing You Don't Know Jack. Let me state that now. So that's my winner. I'm not mad about Quiplash being in the finals, but that's my winner.
So
this is the decision to decide it all.
It really is, and this is the toughest decision I can have because I can obviously argue the merits of both sides. One, if you're talking about Jackbox, if you say Jackbox, the first thing I think of is Quiplash. It was the first thing I played on it. It was the simplest. Oh my God! Wait, I can play this game on my phone type of thing, like mind blowing. Like, how does this work? Type of thing. Years ago when we first played it, but then again, You Don't Know Jack. Again, I've been playing it for over 20 years. I still love this game. It's fantastic. However, it's a Jackbox thing. I am so torn, but I think gun to my head, I'm gonna go You Don't Know Jack because of the writing. It's more fun. It's fun in the sense of I laugh at it. It's clever. The trivia questions are not just straightforward. What's the capital of Uganda? Well, I don't care. Like, it's a funny way of describing it, making you think about it. So yeah.
Sorry to all our Uganda viewers.
Wow, I'm surprised that and you know the thing is, if we were to choose different people from our group, Quiplash easily would have won. If Maisie was in this, You Don't Know Jack would have had no chance.
For sure, and I think Courtney's in the same boat. I think Quiplash is much more accessible because it's quicker, faster. You just have to think of a word. But there's just something more to the depth of You Don't Know Jack on past the surface level, I think, that I love about it.
And I think there's something worth saying. Like, when you play Quiplash, you never are not laughing your ass off. Mm-hmm. Every
With
time.
A good group.
It's guaranteed. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That is kind of the key, though. I'm sure there are people who've played Quiplash and they're in a group of people that aren't that creative or funny or quick on their toes, and they've been like, eh.
That's fair. I had a friend who played with a coworker, and the coworker answered like dead straight. It's like it was the worst experience of his life.
Yeah.
But yeah, You Don't Know. Personally, You Don't Know Jack.
I'm on the losing side of this in the finals, but I can't really be mad that the thing that is sort of emblematic of this, because again, we have YouTube videos on it. It's a thoroughfare throughout the last 10 years of this show. Ends up being the winner. Can't hate on it. So You Don't Know Jack full stream from Jackbox 7, the most recent one, is your winner. Actually, it's not from 7, it's from 5. I lied. Quiplash 3 is from 7.
Yep.
But that's the winner of the bracket, and that's the end of the episode. The only thing I'll say is if you followed us through this, you've probably already played most of these games yourself, because otherwise you're like, what the hell? But on the off chance you just like listening to us talk about things, in an excited manner, if you haven't checked out any of the Jackbox Party Packs, you really owe it to yourself to find a decent group of friends on some night and do it. And you can follow some of our recommendations. I don't think there's anything wrong with anything that advanced past the first round. And how you can argue like Blather Round's also pretty good. So like, thin the herd a bit, but find a pack that's got a couple of these that we really talked highly about because they're spread out, and give it a shot because they're relatively cheap, especially if they're on sale, and it ends up being a pretty good 2, 3, 4 hour night with some friends for relatively low investment.
Yeah.
And now we can start hanging out with friends again soon, like actually in person. But even so, these do play well online. If you have the right setup and you can point a webcam at a TV and get a pretty good sound setup, they actually play really well in when you're apart.
Yeah.
I mean, we have 3 different states represented most times on our nights, so it works out well.
You can also experience it via Twitch. It's one of the biggest, backed. I mean, the huge titans, the League of Legends, and some of the other big time performers on there are always going to be king. But these do really well because of the audience component. So if you're just curious to see them in action before you try and buy it yourself, that's a good way to do it. Hop in an audience of a Twitch streamer, see if they're funny, watch along for the laughs, and get to experience the games that way, and then play them yourself. That's the end of this episode. We've run a little bit long, but it was a big bracket, so I was worried that might be the case. But in between episodes, you can find us at our website, objectionnetwork.com, or at youtube.com/objectionnetwork for new videos 7 days a week. See you next time.